Okay, let's dive in. We are tackling something pretty big today, a major shift happening with Galxe, the growth platform.
Yeah, a lot of people in this space will know them.
Right. Well, they're not just tweaking things anymore. They're actually building their own layer one blockchain. It's called Gravity.
And unifying the whole ecosystem under a new token, the G token.
Exactly. So we've sifted through quite a pile of material, blog posts, the official light paper, docs, root data, all sorts of stuff.
hmm And our goal here is basically to pull out the essentials for you. What you really need to know about this whole transformation. Cut through the noise.
Think of it like your cheat sheet. We want to understand why a platform that was already doing well decided to build its own chain.
Yeah, what's the strategy?
And what's under the hood? We'll touch on some pretty wild performance targets they're aiming for, how they're using restaking for security.
And the token migration, of course.
hmm
How GAL becomes G.
Right, and what it all means for users, for projects,
Right.
for you, basically. It's a really interesting move.
It is. It says a lot about where they see Web3 scaling going, or perhaps where they think it needs to go.
Definitely. So let's maybe start with the basics for anyone less familiar. Remind us, what exactly is Galxe?
Sure. So based on all the sources, Galxe is really positioned as a leader in Web3 growth. That's their thing.
Okay.
Their whole mission is about helping Web3 projects. They offer this suite of tools, analytics, automation, ways to engage users.
Right, helping them launch faster, grew smarter, that kind of thing.
That phrase comes up, building stronger connections. They call it a full stack suite built for performance.
And the scale they're operating at is pretty impressive, looking at the numbers in the docs.
Oh, yeah. Trusted by over 7,000 brands.
Yeah.
And the user base is massive. Some docs say 33 million plus, others say 34 million plus users.
Either way, that's huge. And the activity, 1.1 billion quests completed.
Yeah, it's staggering. It shows
Yeah.
people are actually using it,
Yeah.
not just signing up.
And it's not just quests, right? They mention identity stuff, too.
Right. Over 1 million Galxe Passport holders, nearly 500,000 with a Galxe score, and get this, over 217 million verified credentials issued.
Wow. So people are building up reputations, identities on there.
Deep engagement, definitely. And they have a whole range of products fueling this.
Like what? I saw a list.
Yeah, there's Galxe Quest, obviously.
Yeah.
But also Starboard, which is their analytics platform, helps projects understand growth.
Data-driven growth makes sense.
Then EarnDrop Passport V3 is apparently compliance-ready, which is interesting.
Enterprise angle, maybe?
Could be. Also Score, Smart Savings, Galxe Plus, the Identity Protocol, Alva, the new Gravity chain itself, Galxe Shop, Galxe Earn. It's a broad toolkit.
And they've got case studies showing it works.
Yep. The sources mention Sonium Conquest, which involved Sony, that's pretty mainstream,
Assuming.
and Movement Labs using Quest for their own ecosystem growth. So, yeah, they seem to have proven the model as an application platform.
Which brings us back to the big question. If they're so successful on top of other chains, why build their own L1? Isn't everyone building L2s these days?
That's the crux of it, and the light paper really digs into this. It wasn't just, a whim. It came directly from the challenges they were facing trying to scale.
Challenges like what?
Transaction volume, mainly.
Yep.
Just their loyalty point system alone was apparently averaging like 51 transactions per second.
51 TPS, just for loyalty points. Okay, that's actually quite a lot.
It is. And trying to process that, plus token rewards, plus everything else, reliably on existing chains, it hit limits. But the key thing wasn't just raw speed. It was finality.
How quickly a transaction is truly confirmed and irreversible.
Exactly. L2s can be fast, sure, but especially optimistic rollups, getting that final confirmation back on the main chain can take hours, sometimes days.
And Galxe needs things faster for a good user experience, especially with cross-chain stuff.
Precisely. The light paper is explicit. They want sub-second finality.
Sub-second, okay.
And achieving that, plus the massive throughput they predict they'll need, well, that pointed them towards building their own L1, tailored for that specific need. Faster finality than typical L2s offer.
So their needs kind of outgrew what was readily available.
That seems to be the argument. Their operational requirements, especially around speed and finality for their specific use cases, pushed them to build custom infrastructure.
And the targets are ambitious is maybe an understatement. 1 gigas per second throughput.
Yeah, and sub-second finality. The late paper does the math that 51 TPS for points needs about 4 million gas per second now. They project the whole ecosystem might eventually need like 500 million up to 1 billion gas per second.
Good grief. Okay, so they're building from massive scale.
Definitely. And the tech approach reflects that. They talk about abstracting complexity away from users using ZK proofs, a staking architecture, aiming for this super efficient omni-chain platform.
Designed for fast cross-chain stuff.
Right. And they estimate just plugging their existing user base into Gravity could mean over 60 million transactions a month.
Which would instantly make it one of the busiest chains out there, just from their own internal activity.
Potentially, yeah. It gives them a huge built-in user base from day one.
Okay, so how are they actually building this thing to be so fast? What's the tech stack look like?
Right. Let's get into the weeds a bit. The light paper breaks it down. Gravity Chain is built on two core open source pieces, the Gravity SDK and Gravity RITH.
Okay, Gravity SDK, what's that based on? I saw it mentioned Aptos.
Yeah, interestingly, it's a refined version of the Aptos codebase.
Why Aptos?
The docs suggest a few reasons. Aptos is already known for being, well, state-of-the-art proof of stake. It uses a fast consensus type PBFT family.
Okay.
It's built for high throughput, low finality. It's battle tested, apparently innovates quickly. So building on that gives them a running start. They're leveraging something already proven and performant.
Makes sense. Don't reinvent the wheel if you don't have to. And it uses this pipelined consensus engine. What does it mean, pipelined?
Think of it like an assembly line for processing transactions and blocks. It's got 5 stages: getting transactions, ordering them, running them, committing the state, saving it. Pipelining means different blocks can be in different stages of this process at the same time.
Ah, so everything runs in parallel, maximizing how much work gets done.
Exactly. It lets the different parts, like consensus and execution, work simultaneously instead of waiting for each other, boosts throughput.
Got it. And that ties into the second piece, Gravity RITH. That's the execution part.
Yep. Gravity RITH is the execution layer. It's based on RITH, which is a popular Ethereum execution client, but they've adapted it specifically for this pipelined model.
How so?
It processes blocks asynchronously, fits neatly with the pipeline. It also has optimizations like decoupling state commitment. Basically, updating the final ledger doesn't block new transactions from being processed, speeds things up.
Okay, faster processing. And it has an optimized storage layer, too.
Right, designed for lots of things happening at once. But the really big piece inside Gravity RITH is Grevm.
Their parallel EVM, that sounds important.
It's a major highlight. Grevm is what actually runs the smart contracts. It's based on another fast EVM called Revm and takes inspiration from parallel execution projects like BlockSTM.
So parallel means running multiple transactions simultaneously.
Exactly. Instead of one after another, it tries to run them at the same time. It uses some clever simulation tricks to figure out which transactions depend on each other and schedules them to run in parallel efficiently.
And does it work?
According to their benchmarks, yeah. They claim it's the fastest open source parallel EVM right now. They quote figures like 4.13 times faster for simple non-conflicting transactions, and even over 50 times faster when you simulate real-world database delays.
Wow, okay. If those numbers hold up in production, that's a serious performance boost.
It could be, yeah. It's key to hitting those gigas targets. They also mentioned something called GCEI.
Right, the Gravity Consensus Engine Interface.
That's basically the communication standard, the bridge between the consensus part, SDK, and the execution part, Reneth. It makes sure they talk to each other smoothly in that pipeline setup.
Okay, so the whole picture is like a finely tuned parallel processing machine for transactions. Now, how do they keep it secure?
Security comes from restaking. It's a restaking-powered proof-of-stake chain.
Okay, restaking. How does that work here?
The plan is to integrate directly with established restaking protocols. They specifically mention EigenLayer for Ethereum and Babylon for Bitcoin.
Right, EigenLayer's AVS model and Babylon's Bitcoin staking. So the idea is to sort of borrow security from the big chains.
That's a great way to put it. Instead of needing to attract billions in stake value for their own new token right away, they leveraged the huge economic security already locked up in Ethereum and Bitcoin.
Billions via EigenLayer, potentially huge value via Babylon.
Exactly. It taps into that existing trust and decentralization to secure Gravity from the get-go. It helps solve that bootstrapping problem new chains face. How do you get secure enough, fast enough?
Makes a lot of sense. Avoids the cold start problem and makes it harder to attack early on.
Right. Mitigates risks like long-range attacks. And, of course, you'll also be able to stake Gravity's own token G, probably on Ethereum initially, which will add to the security pool over time.
Okay, so we have this engine built for speed, scale, fast finality, parallel execution, and secure by restaking. What does this actually do for people? For the projects and the, 20 million plus users already on Galxe?
Yeah, this is where the tech meets reality. The sources list several use cases that really leverage these features. aimed directly at that existing user base.
Such as?
One big one is balance abstraction with yield. The idea is to simplify managing assets across all these different chains.
Less juggling wallets and bridges.
Hopefully. Gravity could potentially let you see a consolidated balance, handle the messy cross-chain settlements behind the scenes, and maybe even let you earn yield on those pooled assets, making multi-chain feel more unified.
Okay, that would be huge for usability. What else?
Intent-based transactions. This is pretty powerful. Instead of you figuring out how to swap token X on chain A for token Y on chain B.
Yeah, the whole bridge swap, bridge back dance.
Right. You just state your intent. I want to end up with token Y using my token X, and the chain figures out the optimal path, liquidity, everything. Gravity is designed to facilitate that kind of abstraction.
It sounds almost magical. Very user-friendly if it works smoothly.
Definitely a goal. Then there's gas abstraction. Always a hot topic.
Paying for transactions, yeah.
Gravity aims to tackle this using smart contract wallets. This allows things like batching transactions, doing multiple things, but only paying gas once.
Okay.
And also gas sponsorships. So a project, or maybe even Galxe itself, could pay the gas fees for certain user actions.
Oh, interesting. So users wouldn't always need the native G token just to click a button.
That's the potential. Removing that friction of needing the right gas token on the right chain for every little thing.
Yeah.
It's a big barrier for newcomers.
Absolutely. And anything else, something core to Galxe.
Yes, on-chain loyalty points. This ties back to their roots. The plan is to migrate all those Galxe Quest points onto the Gravity chain.
So the points become actual on-chain assets, not just numbers in a database.
Exactly. Fully on-chain, user-controlled. This sets the stage for potentially building marketplaces for these points, letting users trade them, use them in new ways. It makes their core engagement mechanic a real Web3 primitive.
Interesting. Okay, so when is all this actually rolling out? What's the timeline?
It's a phased rollout. The Gravity Alpha mainnet actually went live back in June 2024.
Okay, so that's out now. What is the alpha exactly?
It's basically an Ethereum rollup using Arbitrum Nitro tech. Think of it as a public testnet, but on mainnet infrastructure. It's for testing the cross-chain settlement stuff, making sure the basic plumbing works.
Got it. So a testing ground. When does the full L1, the restaking POS chain, launch?
The plan outlined in the light paper is for the full Gravity mainnet launch in Q2 2025.
Q2 2025. Okay. I did see a note on root data mentioning mainnet live August 20th, 2024.
Right. That likely refers to the alpha mainnet launch in June-July timeframe, becoming more widely accessible, or perhaps a specific milestone within that alpha phase. The full dedicated L1 is still slated for 2025, according to the core docs.
Okay, that clarifies it. And is the ecosystem around Gravity starting to form? Partnerships and integrations?
Yeah, seems like it's already beginning. There was a partnership announced with Nansen back in December 2024.
Nansen, the analytics platform.
Yep, to launch specific data dashboards for projects and investors focused on Gravity. And the docs list a growing number of wallets, exchanges, node providers, other tools integrating support. So the groundwork is being laid.
All right, let's switch gears to the token itself, the G token. This replaces the old GAL token, right?
Correct. It's a full migration from Galxe GAL to Gravity G. And importantly, this was voted on and approved by the Galxe community, the DAO.
So community buy-in. Why the change?
The stated reasons are mainly about unification. Having one single token for both the new L1 chain and the existing Galxe apps, it simplifies things, integrates the token more deeply, and gives it a clear identity, just G.
So G becomes the native gas token on Gravity and the payment token for Galxe apps.
Exactly. One token to rule them all, so to speak. Specs-wise, initial total supply is 12 billion G. It exists as an ERC20 on Ethereum, BNB chain, Base.
Standard stuff?
And also as a Layer 0 OFT Omnichain fungible token, which makes bridging it around easier. Plus, it's already on quite a few exchanges, over 28 listed.
Okay, and the utility, what can you actually do with G? Does it just inherit GAL's uses?
It inherits them and expands on them. So, yes, staking is a big one. Stake G to help secure Gravity, participate in governance, earn rewards, maybe get airdrops through Galxe Earn.
Securing the network and getting rewards.
Like governments, obviously. G holders govern the GDAO. It's the native gas token for transacting on Gravity itself. You'll need it to pay for operations on the chain.
Gas token, got it.
And it's the payment token for fees across the Galxe Suite Quest, Passport Score, Alva, you name it. If there's a fee, you'll likely pay it in G.
Okay, so it really is central. Gas on the chain, fees in the apps.
Pretty much. They also mention things like getting cash back in G via the Galxe shop. So broad utility across the whole ecosystem.
Now, the migration, how do people actually swap their old GAL for the new G? What's the process?
The ratio is fixed. One GAL gets you 60 G.
1 to 60. Okay.
For people holding GAL in their own wallets, like MetaMask on Ethereum or BNB chain, there's a migration portal. It's at g.xyzgalg portal.
And that's live now.
Yeah, it opened July 9th, 2024, and they said it'll be open for at least a year. You connect your wallet, approve the burning of your GAL, pay a gas fee, and you receive the equivalent G on the same chain.
Standard token swap process then. What about GAL on exchanges?
For spot holdings on supported centralized exchanges, the migration should be automatic.
Yeah.
The exchanges handle it. But
check with your exchange first.
definitely. Galxe advises confirming with your specific CEX about their process and timing. And for derivatives, like GAL futures, you absolutely must check with the exchange. Galxe isn't involved there.
Okay, makes sense. And what if you were staking GAL directly on the Galxe platform?
That was the easiest scenario. It was converted automatically to G sometime after July 19th, 2024. No user action needed there.
Convenient. But if you staked GAL somewhere else, like a third-party DeFi platform,
Then you need to act. You have to unstake it or withdraw it from wherever it is, get the GAL back into your own wallet, and then use the migration portal.
So the portal is key for self-custody or GAL held outside Galxe's direct platform or supported CEXs. What happens if someone misses the one-year window?
The sources say the unmigrated GAL tokens will technically still exist, but they'll lose their utility. All the functions, staking, payments, governance will have shifted entirely to G. So to keep using the ecosystem, you really need to migrate.
Got it. Migrate or your GAL becomes effectively useless within the ecosystem.
That's the takeaway.
Phew. Okay, that was quite the journey. So, recapping. Galxe, already a big player in Web3 growth tools, is making a huge leap.
Massive. Building their own L1, Gravity.
Yeah, a high-performance chain with some serious tech pipelining, parallel EVM, the works. Aiming for incredible speed and near-instant finality.
Secured by restaking, leveraging the trust of Ethereum and Bitcoin.
And unifying everything, the chain and the apps under this new G token, migrating from GAL.
It's a really ambitious strategy. They're essentially saying the existing infrastructure isn't quite right for our scale and needs, so we'll build our own.
Addressing those core Web3 pain points. Speed, scale, user experience, security bootstrapping.
Head on, creating infrastructure tailored specifically for their application layer's demands.
It does make you wonder, though, how does this change the game? You know, having a major application platform basically own its own L1 stack.
Right. What does that centralization of infrastructure under one entity, even with decentralized tech and governance, mean for the wider ecosystem? Does it create new moats, new opportunities, new challenges?
It definitely challenges that sort of common wisdom about applications always building on top of generalized chains. It'll be fascinating to see how this model plays out and if others follow suit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
A space to watch for sure.